Well, it looks like baseball is back in jeopardy. The MLB postponing some games after a coronavirus outbreak hit the Miami Marlins. Sports betting company DraftKings tanking on this news, finishing lower by 6.5%. For more on this, let's bring in Bernie McTernan of Rosenblatt Securities. Bernie, great to have you with us.
Thanks for having me.
You cited in your report about DraftKings that the risk is that COVID-19 delays the return of sports, and here we are. What would this mean if the season were scrapped?
Yeah, so I think right now we're going to be dealing with this being the new normal of having canceled games. But really, there's incredible demand right now, or pent-up demand, for watching and betting on sports. So what we saw with the record ratings for opening day, and then also in New Jersey, sports betting revenue was actually higher year over year in June. So I think that if the MLB does get scrapped, it's certainly negative headline risk. But ultimately, we think sports betting in the U.S. is going to be a massive opportunity going forward.
Is this the kind of thing where you're going to just look past the next 6 to 8 months or so? I mean, assuming that the MLB and what's happened there with the outbreak is probably going to happen with football to some extent, and possibly with basketball too.
Yeah, so it seems, there's kind of two paths there going forward here. One is with the bubble, and that's the NBA and the NHL. The NHL actually just got back 4,300 tests today that were all negative. It seems like the bubble in the NBA is going great. Both those seasons are starting later this week. We're really bullish about that season being able to last. But then there's also the MLB and then the NFL, which is having travel. So there certainly seems to be more risk there. The NFL is massive for sports betting. But to your point, yes, we think that pro sports are going to come back at some point. So if it's not this year, it's going to be next year, the year after. And this is really just a blip in a buying opportunity here for long-term holders.
Hey, it's Tim. Thanks for joining us. And I guess my question really is about the competitive landscape, because to me, DraftKings is playing the long game. And as sad as some of these setbacks have been for baseball, and you've talked about this with their market share and how you model that. Who else is in the game? What's other exposure investors can have to OSB or online sports betting?
Yeah, certainly. So we think that, we have DraftKings having a 25% market share long term. We think that could be ultimately conservative, but we think DraftKings and FanDuel are going to be two of the major winners here. FanDuel, you can play through Flutter, the owner there. And then also there's other ways to play it too. So Penn National Gaming is another one with Barstool. We've talked to a number of investors who are very favorable on that stock as well. And then Fox owns Fox Bet, which is really interesting. You saw Fox sell off a lot today as well. And that's more, can they make the transition from the bundle? Because right now, almost all their economics are based on the traditional linear bundle. Cord cutting is going to be accelerating. It's going to accelerate even more if there aren't sports. So then can they transition with Fox Bet and their probably ultimate ownership of FanDuel as well?
All right, Bernie, great to speak with you. Thanks for your time. Bernie McTernan of Rosenblatt Securities. Jeff Mills, this is a space that you liked. What do you think now?
Yeah, it was a fast pitch of mine maybe a month or two ago. And look, I still like it. We're going to have fits and starts, but overall, I think looking over the next 6 to 12 months, we're going to have more sports, not less. I do think DraftKings has the brand recognition. I do think there's this dynamic too, where as more sports come online, which I think they will, people are still going to be at home. So to Bernie's point, you have this increased interest in online sports betting, and I think that sticks. And then longer term, you do have the catalyst in terms of legislation. So thinking about California, Florida, Texas, New York, these are big states that have not yet legalized online sports betting. I think when they do, you will see a big tailwind to some of these names. I think DraftKings is really well positioned if you can stick with it.
Beeks?
I would rather own DraftKings.
I agree with all of that in the long run.
Sorry, Beek.
Oh.
Go ahead, BK.
No, go ahead, Guy. Oh, okay, BK
no,
will
I thought
go.
You said Guy. I'm
on
sorry.
DraftKings. All right, so on DraftKings, this is what BK thinks, is that the sell-off today really overdone. I think if you think about it, how are human beings going to react? They're going to say, boy, I better get my bets in now in case the season is closed down. So I think, if anything, it pulls earnings forward, and the risk is that DraftKings outperforms on earnings.
If only we were in the same place, right? Like the old days. The old days weren't even that long ago, right? We wouldn't have to have all these delays. But I was thinking, Guy, more sports. So you're watching hockey games, obviously, and the hockey season is extremely long, as we all know.
And so are you, Mel.
And so, Right. And so what are you not doing? So what, in other words, you have a limited number of hours. So what are you not doing?
Yeah.
And is that a loser, so to speak, on the back of sports wins?
It's interesting. I mean, I thought, if you had asked me 6 months ago, I would have been thought I would have been devastated by the lack of sports. It really hasn't bothered me all that much. Yeah, I watched the Yankee game, but it was more passing to me. I've sort of moved past it. I will watch hockey, and I think to your point, I would counter. I don't think the hockey season is long enough, but that's another episode of another show. But to Jeff Mills' point, I think DraftKings, if you're playing the long game, this sell-off is an opportunity because they're doing everything right in a world that just wants to gamble. I think you had a record number of bets on the Yankee Nationals game on opening day on Thursday. That speaks volumes as the pent-up demand for at least that industry.